Hi friends, good morning in the morning and welcome to Superbooth Part 2. This will be the last video from Superbooth, but I have plenty of stuff packed in it, so yeah, I think you will find something nice in there. By the way, I will mark all the different brands that I've visited down in the video description, so you can just drag your marker wherever you want to go and which brand you want to know more about. The first up was at Play Differently. They have these two really nice mixers out. The first one is called Model 1, and then they have the Model 1.4. Two different mixers in different dimensions with different ins and outs. And I just wanted to check them out to see if mixers are anything for me and my setup. Because the last time I played a gig, I think it would have been nice to have a mixer, but I came pretty quickly to the conclusion that my audio interface that I'm using right now is pretty sufficient and that it has all the inputs I need, and then effects-wise I can just do everything in Ableton, and I'm happy to do that software-wise. So yeah, it was kind of like just for myself reassuring me that I don't need a mixer, but still pretty interesting to see what they have and kind of like how people work with it. And I just recorded a very, very nice jam that one of the guys was playing there in their tent. From there on, I went on to Polyend. Polyend is a company I have been looking at with a lot of interest lately, because I have never used a tracker before, but I'm kind of like magically torn towards small pieces of gear that are very handy, that are battery powered, that you can take everywhere to make music, like for example the OP1, the OPZ, and all of that stuff. And this is why the Tracker Mini caught my attention, and I just walked at the booth and tried to figure out for myself if I can actually use a tracker or if I can make any usable music with this. And I realized it's really hard if you're coming from kind of like other things like the Electron boxes or Ableton, and I've never used a tracker before. At first sight, it's quite crazy because it looks like a calculator that you make music with, and it's, for me, a little bit counterintuitive. I had my friend Lucas with me, and he tried it out a little, and he programmed a very nice little beat. He also said that he never had tracker experience before, but he got into it quite quickly. So I think it all depends what your intentions are with the device and how quickly you can get into the workflow. But he said it was actually quite fun, and due to the fact that we just were there a pretty short amount of time, he got a very nice jam going. Next up on the list, we had Majella, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a very small Dutch company that I didn't have on my list before, but yeah, by accident we bumped into them and we started a conversation, and the guys told me a little bit about their new synth called Implexus, which is kind of like trying to modulate East Coast and West Coast synths into one device. What that means is that you have a basic generator that generates a normal waveform like you would have, for example, on a Moog or something. But then you have also, in addition to that, a complex generator, which then uses wavefolding to create different harmonics, and you can modulate all of that and get a little bit wild with it. I have to say, it sounded pretty cool. The guy from Majella gave us a very nice demo, which I'll play you just right now. But it was not something entirely new, but still, I think, a very nice sounding synth, and let's take a listen. In the same hall that Majella was in, there was also a very small company called Drumbeam, which is actually quite interesting because it's a university project from Germany, and the guy told us that it just got kind of like to an own standalone company, so it's still quite new. They had a lot of prototypes that they worked on in university environment, and yeah, now it's a standalone company, which I find pretty cool because they are just starting out very small, and yeah, they're working on their product to get it to the market. The drumbeam actually is a, how can you say that? It's kind of like a beam like this, and you have different LEDs on it, and you can basically per LED place a drum hit, so you can then yeah, just play it live. And my friend Lucas, who I walked around with at Superbooth, he actually is a live performer, and he was looking into something like this because he said when he's playing live, he wants at some points just to add some fills, some build-ups with drums, and this is why he was very interested in the drum beam. Very, very cool, and I wish them all the best because yeah, we had a great conversation with them, and yeah, it sounds like a really cool project, and yeah, excited to see when it will be off the alpha and beta testing phase and then come to the market. Next up on the list was Synthstrom Audible, and this is something I got kind of like into via my Patreons because I heard that they had this kind of like open source system, but I never really got into it, and then I had one of my patrons writing to me saying, hey, it would be nice if you could walk there and maybe find out a little bit more about what this open source system for the Deluge actually means. And yeah, this got me into a conversation with Ian. Ian is from the Synthstrom team, and we had a very nice talk about open source and what that means for the products and everything, but take a look yourself. Superbooth 2023, I'm here with Ian from Synthstrom. Ian, thank you so much for joining me. So you have just announced the open source thing, which is a pretty exciting project. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about it.
Sure. I mean, it's been something that's been on the back of our minds for probably 4 or 5 years. We've been kind of loosely talking about it, seriously talking about it for about 2 years. And it just got to the point that we were kind of nearing completion with all the things that we wanted to see on the device. And I think also Rowan was feeling he wanted more freedom to just do weird kind of esoteric things of whatever he felt he wanted to do and not feel kind of like a pressure from a community to like do what they wanted to do. So we thought it was just the best in everyone's interests if we just like separated it and we just like going, this is like the official thing that Rowan will do, and now you guys, you just do whatever you want over there. So but we also wanted to wait till the time was right, you know. I mean, we need it, so we know we've got an amazing community. Like, we have an incredible community of people who are as passionate as we are. We needed to make sure that there are enough awesome coders out there, and then enough awesome coders, then a subset within that of people who are also like willing to give up their time, and then within that, people who are just like also willing to share it with the world. So it's like you have to start with a big group this size to get the, your amazing, like, incredible coders, that amount. And I know now that we have that many people. So I also understand that there's a lot of pressure on this project because, like, we're one of a few companies doing this, and it's like we need, this isn't an end-of-life thing for us. It's like we're just getting started, and it's like we need other companies to see that this is actually a growth thing, that this actually builds your brand and your product and actually like grows you as a company. If this backfires on us and doesn't go well, then it's obviously the rest of the synth community will like take that as a sign, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. So there's definitely, we knew going into this that we have to get it right. Because we want to see other companies do this, and so we need to prove, just like with retrofitting the new screens and the old devices, it's like a lot of companies would be like, what? Why don't you just sell them a new one? Why are you like upgrading their old ones? And so it's like, again, we need to prove that it's just like going, no, you look after your community. It's just like that's who the people are who support you, and you're nothing without them. So it's just, it seems simple to me. So, but again, we need to prove that works, so other synth companies can.
Okay. So when you now say, okay, we want this project kind of like to go in the right direction, is it something where you have already kind of like a goal in mind, or are you totally open there?
Oh, no. I mean, we're trying to be as hands-off as possible. We want people to do whatever they think that should be done. And that's actually the most exciting thing for us, is because, obviously, when we have a feature in development, it's kind of like when a band's recording an album, you start off with your demos, then you like refine them, then you spend more time. By the time you actually release your album, you're so sick of that that song, and then you got to go and perform it live for like 3 years, and then you just hate everything you've ever done. And then so like for us, like when we're developing a feature, we're like crafting it, designing it, and then put in alpha testing and beta testing. By the time it comes to release, we're actually just kind of like, oh my god, because you've seen the demo version, and it's like you're kind of like you lose the ability to enjoy it. Whereas like now with the community testing, it's just like we'll get like, oh my god, what? Like we'll get that experience that they've had, and I mean that's what I'm most excited about. We don't want to tell people what to do, because I know how tough it is when people tell you what to do. So it's like we don't want to, but I have a pretty good idea of what people are going to do. Like I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't know, we had amazing people involved, and I knew the kind of things that they were going to do, and that it was possible. Like, obviously, we wouldn't do it if it was not going to be like what it's like troll everybody and go, oh, it's open source, but you can't do anything. It's like, that wouldn't be a very good move.
Yeah, speaking of it, what is kind of like the community feedback so far? Do you see a lot of people, probably you're going on GitHub, so see a lot of people sign up for it already, or going into it? What kind of like is the current state?
It's crazy, to be honest. I mean, on our GitHub, within 24 hours, we had something like 300 people follow the GitHub, which is like crazy, because it's not like people who don't code are going to go sign up for a GitHub to follow a GitHub. So I mean, that was pretty wild to us. I mean, we were kind of hoping that because of that, obviously we need if we had 5 to 10 amazing people, that's going to be incredible. So if we can start with a base of like 500 people who are kind of checking it out, it's definitely a good start. But also, I just know the people I've been talking to the last few months, like I just know that there's really keen people who are like really skilled and talented. And also, but we made sure we didn't want to just put this out there and just cross our fingers. So we made sure that we got Jamie Fenton, who we know is an incredible developer and knows the Deluge inside and out, that she will be running and managing the community, and having that hand, because like Rowan will definitely be there and help out people as well. But the whole point of this is to kind of like give him space and room to kind of think of other things. So we didn't want to have to, so him then just having to help everybody would just remove that point. So having Jamie do it is I think it's going to be the difference between this succeeding and not, is having just a really good, strong hand, someone who understands everything, answer questions, help people bug fix. It's why it's going to work.
Thanks again, Ian, for the interview, but what especially caught my attention was when he said that Synthstrom wants to be kind of like a first mover in this space, so that they make their software open source, so that a lot of people can get on GitHub and get creative with it, and you have just a community manager kind of like managing all the different projects and make sure that they are in a realistic scope. But I found that quite interesting, because I think it would be super cool to see more synth companies do something like that, to go open source and open their software to the public. I have doubts that they will, but it's cool to see that Synthstrom as a small company is going that way, and excited to see what the outcomes are and how the Deluge will then shape from that. So excited to see. And that was pretty much it from the synthesizer side, but of course there's also a big music side to Superbooth, and I just wanted to give some artists a little bit room here who have done really, really nice performances. First up is my man Eric, aka Surko Live. He's a very amazing live techno performer. He performs completely doorless, has a very nice setup, and he was at the Oxy Instruments booth, and there he performed a little set, and that was actually really, really nice to watch. Thank you so much, Eric, for this nice set. And from there on, we moved on to the Z stage, where we see Mattes play live. And this was also a very nice and very cool, expressive concert. I also really like the setting with a kind of like little, not really a lake, but a small one, behind it. And yeah, it was just a great vibe. We also had our Pity Victory Collective community meeting there, where we met just with everyone from the label being at Superbooth, and it was just nice to hang out with everyone and enjoy the concert together, chat a little bit, and yeah, it was just a very, very cool atmosphere. And then from there on, we went on with the whole crew to the after show party, and that was really, really nice. We have seen especially Travasi and Alex, who have really caught my attention. They played an awesome live set. And yeah, that's it from Superbooth 2023. I think my little bit main takeaway was it was an awesome show. I had a great time. I met so many people. It was really amazing, and yeah, I just had great fun. Met so many also new faces, and it was really, really cool. But at the same time, looking at all the gear out there, I thought I'm actually quite happy with the setup I have right now. Maybe some minor tweaks to be done in the future. But then it was like, okay, I don't really need any of these things that I tried here at Superbooth, and there were many of them actually, because everything kind of like for the stuff that I do, I have already in my setup, and everything in the setup has a specific purpose, and there's also room to grow in the setup for each piece. The Digitone, the Mother 32, and Ableton. Especially Ableton, there is a lot to discover on the software side. So this is why I thought, okay, why get another machine that gets just adds maybe something, but then also adds weight if you carry it and stuff and take it to a gig with you. So yeah, I think all of that stuff was kind of like also a little bit eye-opening for me to see, okay, I don't need anything else. It's nice to see, and I love to play with new devices, like I think every synthead does. It's just like, it's in our nature. But yeah, it was cool to see, okay, I don't need any of these stuff. And now driving home from Superbooth saying, okay, I'm happy with the setup I have, happy to get back to the machines to make music again, but still take an awesome experience home with me, having met so many people, having tried out so many stuff, having actually also learned a lot about synthesis in general, and yeah, it was just a great time. So thank you all for watching, really appreciate it. I hope you like this format, and yeah, wishing you a great day, and see you again very soon. Cheers.